I believe, December 15th. So call the meeting to order at 6:31. So the first item is the agenda, and if there's any amendments or if there's no amendments, if there's an adoption, there's a motion to adopt the agenda as circulated.
I'll put forth a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Did we lose our chairperson?
Yeah, looks like we lost Deb. Give her a minute to get back on here. Let's see if I can text her. Oh, there she is.
Sorry about that. So with respect to the agenda, I would like to have a couple comments before we get started on the agenda. So that's just kind of one item to the agenda. And otherwise, does anyone else have anything to add to the agenda? If not, can we have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
What is the amendment?
I'm
What
going
is the amendment?
Okay, all in favor? Okay, so I just wanted to take a couple minutes. So as the outgoing chair and leaving CPC after 6 years, I thought I wanted to just have a couple comments. And first of all, it's really been my honor to be able to serve on the CPC for 6 years. I'm just thinking about it today, there's been a monumental amount of change in that 6 years. We have gone through 2 councils and then just a re-election of the same council. And the councils had significantly different perspectives on planning and development. And so adjusting to that. And so now I think that we have we have a strong alignment and a go forward with respect to council. We have had 3 CAOs in that amount of time. And we've had 4 leaders at the head of planning and development. So lots of different changes at the top. We have had significant growth in Cochrane and the pressures that comes with growth and with increasing in variance in voices, and to kind of get a collective voice and how do we go forward and how are we going to be as we grow up. And from a development perspective, the big challenge was that we had documents that needed to be updated. We had the municipal development plan, and then we had the LUB, the land use bylaw, which has taken a Herculean effort to get it to where it is today, where we hope that it's approved early in 2022. And then we will do the MDP after. Generally, we would do it the other way around, but there was such a need with the land use bylaw being outdated, having been written in 2004, to get it we really needed to focus on that. So, so we've got, I think, a very solid vision going forward, a great council going forward, and we have a great challenge, I think, as we go forward in 2022 as to what is the real role of CPC going forward. A discussion that I brought forward just at the beginning of COVID, but COVID has taken precedence over most everything. And so as we grow up and we define who we want Cochrane to be, what's the role of CPC? So you guys have a great challenge, and I know that I'm leaving it in great hands. So I just wanted to say a few things. the other thing with me leaving, the process is that there was a ad placed. People applied to come on CPC. I believe that there was 5 applicants, and Heather, as vice chair, will be sitting on the selection process with, are you sitting on that, Mike?
Yes, I am. We're doing interviews on Thursday.
Yeah, so there's interviews set. Names will go forward to council in the first meeting in January. Council will look at the meetings and the recommendations. There may be other names brought forward, and then a decision will be made, and then you'll have the full complement of your CPC as of January. Okay. So that was my comments. And the next thing was, or is, the council update. So Councillor Fideko or Councillor Flowers, would you like to give us an update?
I can start, and Susan can backfill if she wants. I mean, council has been it's been interesting. We've only been in kind of term for the last couple months, and I think both Councillor Flowers and I have been MIA just due to responsibilities due to council as well as AUMA. I'll kind of update from our last meeting. So the biggest thing obviously that came out of that was our budget was passed at a 10% tax increase, and it mostly goes to support. There's a ton of capital projects obviously that our budget goes to support, so I don't want to just talk about the operational side. The capital side, we have lots going on between traffic, obviously our transit hub, our RCMP new station that's coming up, protective services building. We have lots of stuff on the go here in town, as well as the operational side went to go support a organizational reorg, which is primarily where the money mostly went to. And so that will include a number of positions that obviously the town, we do realize that we're short a number of these positions to be able to, I think, move forward in a lot of our aspirational dreams. And so a lot of that money will go to hire people to put them in place so that we can successfully move forward, and as well as some frontline positions as well. So maybe I'll let Councillor Flowers. I don't want to speak too much. I obviously, I'm sure most of you know, I didn't necessarily vote in favor of the budget for my own personal reasons, but I do support my my fellow colleagues' decision, and I carry on from there. So I will maybe let Councillor Flowers go from that point and let her make any additional comments.
Thanks, Marnie. I'll just add a couple things. Yeah, we're a mid-sized city now, and we do have a lot of challenges ahead of us. We're not a town anymore, and we like to think we're a small town, but we're not. So we've got all these things facing us that we need to fund, and we need to get more money in the basket before we can move forward with so many of them. So I am excited about the next 4 years. I think we're sort of in a great place with Cochrane, where there's so many opportunities and things that are coming our way. So we're ready to go, and we're going to really make a difference. I think having all of us the same council saved a year of work of orienting and getting things going. So we're really ready to get to work and get some of these 90 projects that we have in mind going, and others that are going to come along as we proceed. So just wanted to say thank you, Deb, for all your work over the years, and just coming in here at the tail end, but I know you put a lot of time into this, so thank you for that. The town will benefit from it.
Thank you. Just one quick question. You say that we're a mid-sized city, so have we made the declaration that
No, we haven't. I
versus-
personally think we should at some point, but I don't know if it'll ever happen or when it'll happen. But we're at over 30,000. You can be a city at 10,000. And when you look at this mid-sized city group across the province, I think we're 13th largest. So we are getting there, and we're growing rapidly, and things are picking up again. So it's not fair to say we're a town.
Thank you. It was always my understanding that the differential was because there was different funding rules if you were a town versus a city. And so we had made a stake, I guess, in the ground to remain a town because of that. that-
Apparently, there used to be a lot of grants if you became a city, and they all dried up, and then you had to pay for the roads leading into your community. But now that we're getting this millions of dollars spent on our intersection next year, I don't really think they're going to give us much money for a while after that.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you, Councillors Flowers and Fideko.
Thank
So
you.
the next item is our adoption of the previous minutes. So the minutes from our November 23rd meeting. Did anyone notice any errors or omissions? And if not, can I have a motion to approve the minutes as circulated?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Moore. Okay, all in favor? Okay, and opposed, it's carried and it's unanimous. And the next item is the development permits, starting off with the development officer's report for the month of November 2021. And I think Nicole is presenting that.
Thank you, Chair Spence. So the month of November, we saw 20 decisions being made, 4 of which were from the CPC last meeting. On top of that, the other decisions were for 2 additions, 6 variance applications, 2 portable temporary signs, 1 street-oriented townhome application that was for, I believe, 5 units, 1 accessory suite, 1 home-based business, 1 fascia signage application. Was just an update from previously approved commercial area, and then 2 accessory buildings. 1 was a residential garage and 1 was for an industrial accessory building. And looking forward at just the number of applications that have been processed recently. This year compared to last year, we are at 202 applications compared to 149 last year, which is a 35.6% increase, and also a 9.8% increase from 2019 as well. And then also with compliance certificates, we are at 821 applications, which is a 64.5% increase from last year and a 70.7% increase from 2019. So we're still seeing very high volumes of applications coming through our door. And as far as I'm aware, we haven't received any new appeals on the November applications, but some of the appeal deadlines are still open for a little bit longer. So that isn't a definitive statement for the rest of the month here. And that completes my report, and I'm available for any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Combs. So does anyone from the membership have any questions or comments with respect to the development officer's report? Ms. Councillor Fideko?
Just a quick question. Do we know how many businesses that have maybe changed since 2020 to 2021 now, I guess? Like how many new businesses have come on board as part of development processes?
I am not aware of numbers of new businesses. Maybe business licenses would be able to track that more effectively. Mike, do you have any numbers?
Through the chair to Councillor Fideko, I can get you those numbers. We are just going through the yearly business license invoicing, and so we'll have those numbers for you, and I'll make sure I send them to all of CPC.
Awesome, that'd be great, Mike. Could you also include maybe 2019 to 2020 to 2020 to 2021? I think myself, speaking on my own self as part of council, I'm always excited to learn how many businesses have actually opened during the pandemic stages, and obviously that have stayed successful. And I mean, I think we have a great success story there to celebrate, because there's been many that have come up on board, whether or not in 2019 or in the past year. So I think it would be a great shout out to be able to give to them. So yeah, those numbers would be great for both those years.
Absolutely. And I can tell you that it is in the positive. We have a number of business startings in 2019, 2020, and 2020 to 2021. So we're doing well on the new business front. So that's great.
That is great news. So I have a question with respect to a DP 2021-143, which was for addition of a permanent patio with variance to parking. I was just wondering where the location of that is.
I believe that that's ducks on the roof. They wanted to keep the patio that they had on a temporary basis from during the pandemic. They wanted to keep that patio on a more permanent basis.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions or comments? I don't see anything in the chat. So if there's no further questions or comments, can we have a motion to approve the development officer's report for the month of November? Councillor Fideko? So
Make the
moved.
motion.
Okay, any other further comments, questions? If not, we go to the vote. All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. So the development office, the first DP for this meeting is DP 2021-183 for a home-based business major with a parking variance.
Madam Chairperson, I must recuse myself from this particular application as I am familiar with this business and I've used the services of the house sitting or cat sitting services of this particular business and would like to recuse myself from this discussion.
Okay, thank you for doing so. I believe that we still have a quorum even with you recusing. So thank you so much. Okay, go ahead, Ms. LaGrove.
Good evening, members of the Cochrane Planning Commission. This evening, I'm here to present DP 2021-183 for a decision in accordance with section 3.1.2 of the land use bylaw, as the application requires a variance over 10%. The application is for the development of a home-based business major located at 333 Sybil Street within the East End community. The subject property is designated R2X residential medium density multi-unit dwelling district, where home-based business major is a discretionary use. The municipal development plan recognizes home-based businesses as an important part of the economic development of Cochrane. Principle 4 is to provide for the foundation of a healthy, diverse, active, prosperous, and resilient economy that offers a range of employment and economic opportunities. Section 8 states that home-based businesses are encouraged in residential and commercial areas. The application also meets 2 pathways within the sustainability plan. Pathway 6, our local economy is healthy and diverse, sets out a target of increasing the number of businesses in all sectors by 50% by 2029. Pathway 7, everyone has an opportunity to pursue their potential in Cochrane, shares the mutual goal of increasing the number of businesses and services. This is the site plan for the development. The home-based business is proposed within an existing townhome with parking in the front yard on the right side of your screen. 1 parking stall is located within the garage and another is located on the driveway. These are the floor plans for the townhome. The home-based business is proposed within the basement, which is the floor plan on the top right. The proposed development is meeting all regulations for a home-based business major, including the gross floor area, number of clients, hours of operation, storage, deliveries, exterior alterations. However, they are requiring a variance to parking. The land use bylaw requires a total of 3 parking stalls on site when a home-based business is proposed. 1 for the home-based business and 2 stalls for the dwelling. However, the subject property is only able to provide 2 parking stalls. As a result, a 100% variance is required to reduce the number of parking stalls provided for the home-based business from 1 stall to 0. The applicant has submitted written rationale regarding the variance and the operation of the business for the Commission's consideration, which is provided in Appendix 4 of the report. A site visit was conducted as part of the circulation process. The development notification sign was posted on the property and no comments or concerns have been received from the public. Administration has reviewed the application and determined it is in alignment with town planning policies and meets the requirements of the land use bylaw, except for the proposed variance to the number of parking stalls. Administration believes that the proposed 100% variance to parking may unduly interfere with the amenities of the neighborhood and interfere with the enjoyment and value of the neighboring properties, as the permit would run with the land and not with the individual landowner or business. As a result, administration is recommending option 1 in the report, that the application be refused with the noted reasons on the slide. And as a reminder, the applicant did provide written submission, which was in the report. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Legros. Okay. So are there any questions or comments? Heather. Ms. Moore?
Yeah, I just wanted to, I think that it's, while I think it's very unfortunate that we don't have bylaws or arrangements in the legals, from a legal standpoint on real property, that we can't allow a permit to happen with the owner. It's unfortunate, but in this situation, I think that the administration is very, has a very valid point that a business major in a location like that could definitely interfere with, you know, future homeowners, depending on, like, obviously cat sitting or grooming might not be an interference right now, but 10 years down the road or whatever, you know, a business major can, there's a lot of businesses that encompasses, right? So I would agree with option 1.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Moore. Councillor Fideko has a question.
So not that long ago, we had a home-based business that came forward to us from the community of Fireside. They were doing floral pickup and delivery. I believe that was also, if I'm not mistaken, a major home-based business license. And again, when I read, you know, kind of the amendment, I see what they're saying, but it is a pickup and drop off service. I'm just wondering if we can get some context maybe from the planning team, whether or not it was the same type of idea, whether we're looking at 2 major home-based businesses that are doing drop-off and pickup services, or if there's something that I'm missing from that Fireside application that is going back, I want to say maybe to June, if somebody can mistake me or correct me, but I just wanted to see if we could get some advice from that.
So through the chair, I'm not familiar with that application, so maybe Danica, you are. It would have been you or Adam.
Yeah, so to the chair, I can answer that question. That was definitely my file. In that application, there was a floral arrangement, and it was for basically, her case was that she applied for a home-based business major. She required a parking variance. She was able to provide a 3rd stall in the backyard. However, that 3rd stall did not meet the land use bylaw requirements for the regular parking stall of the 2.75 by 6, nor did it meet the compact parking stall. So in the end, the Cochrane Planning Commission approved that development with the variance to parking on that. So keeping in mind that despite what the use is for the major is a major. So whether it's for a floral pickup or drop off or something else along those lines, it can also be something where you have clients coming into the home for some hairdressing, or, you know, someone wants to do one-on-one yoga classes or something like that. So unfortunately, the land use bylaw doesn't dictate what a major is. It just means that clients are coming to the home.
And again, I believe that we didn't put any parameters on that. Is that correct, Danica? We didn't put any parameters as to like a year's permission, because I think that was something that came up in our talks as CPC.
Yes, so to the chair, to Councillor Fideko, that is correct. There was no parameters put on it. It was 100% variance granted for parking.
So I think my position back then, which I believe was the same with many of the people on CPC, is that can we not be able to alter this during the land use bylaw kind of next steps as we go to approve it? I know that, yes, currently it runs with the land, but I think we all had a number of concerns as to what that looks like as to a homeowner that is providing that particular service for that particular time. I just really hate to end up telling this business, sorry, you're not able to, but hey, back in June, we made that same type of decision that allowed that business to be able to move forward. I don't see any difference between this one or that one, especially if they're saying, and if they're telling us that they're just dropping off and picking up. I don't see any difference, to be quite honest, no difference in the floral place that we already approved.
So thank you, Councillor Fideko. And just my own comments. I know we had a long discussion with respect to that one back in June. And the discussion was with respect to the fact that it goes with the property versus what the business was. And we kind of went back and forth. I will tell you that the vote was not unanimous. You may or may not remember with respect to that one. So, and here we are again with the same type of situation. I believe that Heather has a comment again. Yes, Heather?
I do. And yeah, so yes, that vote was not unanimous, but I would like to bring up that, and I'll even say it, I did not vote for that option on that particular development permit. But I will also just reinforce that on this one, if you look at the layout of the apartments, because that's what they are, townhomes, there's not an opportunity even for street parking. So in the one in Fireside, there was it was on a substantially wider street. And these homes almost share driveways. So I feel like we would be approving something. Like I said, it's really unfortunate that we don't have something in between, but we don't. And as a matter of fact, I think as far as real property law, I think that really we can't go outside of that in our bylaws moving forward. So the fact that it's in such a compact area and would allow for just about anything down the road. Again, I just reiterate that I think we might be opening up a can of worms for somebody 5 years down the road or 10 years down the road.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Moore. Do you have any comments, Ms. Locke? No, Mr. Park?
My only comment or concern is that you're restricting home-based businesses to those people who live in townhomes who can never get enough parking to meet the requirements, which is a little, in my opinion, unfair. But that would be my only opinion on that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Fideko?
This is directed towards Mr. Corman. Mr. Corman, do you know if some of these businesses, like say if we go to this point and we say, you know what, we're not about to approve this application just due to the parameters, how many of them choose to operate underground and do their business anyways? And we have no control, no say. Now they're just operating and doing their own thing anyways.
Most of that would be on a complaint basis, and I do not believe we have very many complaints in that area. It's very hard to tell whether somebody's starting a business of that nature, and we would have to do it on a complaint basis. And I can check with our peace officers, but I don't believe it's very high.
Okay.
Sorry, if I could just add to what Mike Corman said. We don't have the numbers, but there are definitely a couple a year that come in through enforcement that end up being a development permit that comes forward to either you guys or administration for a decision. So there's usually a handful a year that come from enforcement.
And there were no concerns from neighboring properties on this particular application? Currently?
Correct. I didn't receive any phone calls or emails from the public.
And is it possible still for council to be able to look at this when it comes forward for approval, to be able to maybe make some changes as to major home-based business permits running with the property. Is that something that we can still amend or find a way to find a workaround for some of these businesses? And I think it was the same conversation that we had last time, that whether or not you're doing a drop-off pickup service is very different than somebody going in to get your hair done, or have a massage where you're sitting in a particular residence for a particular time.
So sorry, go ahead, Mike.
Sorry, pardon me, through the chair. If you're speaking, Councillor Federico, in regards to the new land use bylaw that's coming up, you would have the opportunity through your debate to ensure that home-based businesses have the parking that you feel is necessary. So that is absolutely an option. I can also bring back this conversation to Jill Hofer, our project lead, and look at the home-based business major and what we are looking at and suggesting to council in the new land use bylaw as well, to make her aware of the conversation that we're having today.
I would really appreciate that, because I think we are really kind of, we're backing ourselves against the wall between shutting business down, particularly due to the fact that we're now saying you can't operate because we don't know what your future plans are of whenever you're going to sell your home. And I think it's a really big mistake in my mind. I think that we can find ways to work around to allow our small home-based businesses to still flourish. Yes, they might not always meet all the requirements, but in a pickup drop-off service kind of idea, I think we're really missing the mark. And if we're starting to shut people down, I think they're going to operate anyways. And then we have no control. We're not making any money off of, obviously, permits, and they're going to run their business as they choose to run it. And so I really think that there's an opportunity for council here to be able to amend the bylaw. And I certainly understand that the planning department is following what's in front of them, but I think in these particular cases, I would rather approve this, because we do know that the land use bylaw is coming forward very shortly for council to be able to approve. I would rather work within our own parameters as council than to shut down a particular business that's only probably going to have a few months anyways before the land use bylaw comes into effect, and we just end up grandfathering them in.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Federico. Councillor Flowers has a comment.
Yeah, this is new to me, but at the same time, it makes me nervous if they can change the business. So they could decide on some other business and then it's already approved. Is that the case?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Through the chair, that is the case. So what if you decide to approve it, what would be approved is a home-based business major, and not necessarily cat grooming. So it's just the umbrella term that would be that you're making the decision on. So if they decide to change the business in a year or two, they can, as long as they're meeting the conditions and regulations in the bylaw.
Yeah.
It's a tough place to be, because we don't know what that could be, and it makes me nervous. I know that parking's an issue in so many places, and as much as we want businesses to start up, if you let everybody start them everywhere, then it could be a mess.
Yes, and there's a fairly long list of businesses that could meet the criteria of home-based business. So there's a list, kind of a long list of different kinds of businesses that could go in. So I think, did you have any other comment, Councillor Flowers?
I was just going to say, we don't know what the next land use bylaw is going to look like. So if we approve it and it doesn't change, then it's sort of there forever.
I think that would be the case. Yes.
Yes, through the chair, if the planning commission decides to approve it, it would be approved on the parcel and would remain in place.
Yeah. Okay. Ms. Moore, I believe, oh, I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead. Are you sure?
I was just going to say, I'd prefer to follow the administration's advice at this point until anything changes.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Moore.
I just guess wanted to say one more comment, is that while we do definitely want to encourage business growth and everything for Cochrane, I think we also have a responsibility to protect our neighborhoods in terms of crowding and causing other people discomfort, because they are primarily residential. So I think that we have an obligation to to look out for and make sure we're keeping control of, you know, what's allowed in a residential area. That's it.
Okay, thank you. So any other questions or comments? Just kind of looking around, I'll check the chat. I think we've heard from everyone. So at this point, would someone like to propose a motion? Ms. Moore?
I would like to propose option 1, that we refuse the application.
Okay. Any other questions and comments before we go to a vote? No? Okay. We will call a vote. All in favor? And opposed? Councillor Fideko and Mr. Parsons?
I was late, so I didn't hear the whole presentation.
So you're abstaining?
Yes.
Okay, so we have an abstain vote. And we have 1 opposed. We have 2 opposed?
We have
Okay.
2 opposed and 3 for option 1.
And 3 for option 1. Remind me, Mr. Corman, is that it is carried?
Sir, I thought it was 2 in favor, 3 opposed, correct?
No, there's 3 in favor. Councillor Flowers, Ms. Moore, and myself are in
Oh,
favor.
sorry. So then,
As long as, sorry, pardon me, through the chair or to the chair, as long as quorum is 5, then you have a vote that is
Carried. Okay, it is carried. Okay. All right. It's a great discussion. And yes, I think when the new land use bylaw comes up, I think that will be a discussion point with council with respect to that particular item. The next permit is DP 021187. Presenter is Ms. Cosby, and it's for backlit signage with variance to lumens.
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Planning Commission. The development permit being presented is for a backlit canopy sign with a variance to the maximum number of lumens at 1101 Sunset Drive. In April of 2019, the land use bylaw was amended to permit backlit signs in the 5 districts as a discretionary use. The shopping center district is one of the districts affected by the change. The purpose and intent of the shopping center district is to provide for a range of commercial, entertainment, and professional office development, along with eating establishments, retail, and office buildings. The existing development was approved in 2012, where the gas bar convenience store was included in the overall development, along with an eating establishment, retail, and office buildings. The land use bylaw, section 37.511, establishes that the maximum number of lumens produced from a backlit sign shall be 6,000 lumens per sign, and that the lumens shall be reduced in half between the hours of 2200 and 0600 hours. The applicant is requesting a variance to the maximum number of lumens produced to 6912, a 15.25% variance to the Petro-Canada symbol. Backlit signs are defined as any sign type that is illuminated from the rear of the sign face. Except for the maximum lumens proposed, the application meets the backlit sign prescribed regulations. This image illustrates the existing light standards currently on the subject property. This slide illustrates the existing exterior lighting on the building located on the north, east, and south elevation. These are site photos of the property looking east, looking southeast on the property, looking west of the property, And this is from the restaurants looking south at the property, the front of the property. And this one is looking southwest. The application was circulated to internal departments and external agencies for comment, and no concerns were noted. The development notification sign was posted on the property on December 2nd, and no feedback was received. Administration does not support the backlit sign with variance to lumens, as it does not comply with the Land Use Bylaw 01-2004, section 37.5.11a, which exceeds the maximum 6,000 lumens produced from a backlit sign. As per section 3.23A2, the variance in lumens would materially interfere with or affect the use, enjoyment, and value of the neighboring properties. Therefore, administration is recommending option 1. That concludes my presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Cosby. We have a comment from Councillor Fideko.
I'd actually put the option on the floor that I also approve option 1, that the Cochrane Planning Commission refuses, sorry, it's my old eyes, DP 2021-187 for approval. As a person who lives up here in Sunset, I don't really understand, and I think that we've had this discussion before about backlit signage for this particular property. If you aren't living up here, you're not necessarily going to know the backlit signage anyways. Anybody that does live in Sunset, there is one way out and one way in our community. Everybody knows that the gas station exists. I don't believe that it's going to attract new people. Somebody's going to say, wow, I only came here because I noticed your sign. I really only find this as probably, I hate to say it, but as probably an annoyance to neighbors and neighboring residents that have to look onto the signage. And I don't think it's going to do anything beyond that point. So that is my 2 cents for this one.
Thank you, Councillor Fideko. Okay, any other, let me see. Does anyone else? Ms. Moore. Ms. Moore has a comment.
Yeah, I would just like to stand behind what Ms. Councillor Fideko said. We have a limit or a boundary for backlit signs for a reason. And I don't know why, I can't even think of one reason why 900 more or whatever lumens is going to help the business out at all. So yeah, I'm not even sure why this came forward. Anyway.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Moore. Anyone else have any comments? Okay, we do have a motion on the floor for option 1, and option 1 reads to refuse the application. Okay, and if there's no other further comments, then we can go to the vote. All in favor? And it's carried and it's unanimous. Thank you. The next development permit is 2021-170 for excavation and stockpiling, stripping and grading. Ms. Tomes.
So, oh, here it is.
It's cold out. Things get frozen.
Sorry, this is only the second or third time that I've done this. So, second meeting. So, can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yes, so I am here to present to you Development Permit 2021-170 for excavation and stockpiling in the community of Heartland. The application is for the majority of the remaining parent parcels within the neighborhood of Heartland, which comprises 29.67 hectares or 73.32 acres of land. You'll notice, can you see my cursor when I move it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. You'll notice this part is excluded And this is for a future storm pond. Storm ponds can be covered under a development permit. And once the development permit is approved, you can do movement of soil under that approval. So that is why that area is being excluded for now. All of the other areas have been included previously under development permits or subdivisions and have other agreements and securities in those areas. Portions of this area, I believe, and for sure this area have also been under previous stripping and grading permits, which have either expired or lapsed and need updating. So that's why this application is coming forward to you. And as well, it's why there's no existing vegetation left in this area, which if any of you drove by in the last week or so may have noticed. The application area covers land that is included in both the area structure plan in stage 1 and also in stage 2. So these are the corresponding area structure plans, and it highlighted in blue is the application area. Stockpiling and excavation is a discretionary use in all of the land use districts in the land use bylaw, which is why it's coming towards the Cochrane Planning Commission for a decision tonight. So as with all excavation and stockpiling applications, the proposed development would prepare the affected lands for future residential or other development. The site area is comprised of 2 sections. In the east, this is the larger section, and the west. And this next slide shows where the stockpiles will be, and it shows both of the stockpiles being in the eastern portion, the larger portion. The material that was previously removed in the western portion does not need a stockpile, and thus a haul road is not required between the 2 areas. So there'll be movement in here, but it will all be contained in that area, and then there will be stockpiling in the eastern area. The cut fill plan shows in green which areas are being cut or material taken away, and the brown lines indicate areas that will be filled. The areas outlined in gray will be or known as deep fill areas, or areas where the fill is greater than 2 meters in depth. And geotechnical reports have been done in that area, and there will be monitoring throughout the activities to ensure that the deep fills will be left long enough to settle to ensure that the geotechnical stability of these lands is acceptable for development. And the deep fills report has been accepted by the Civil Land Development Department that is in compliance with the town's guidelines. And this is the cut fill plan for the western section. As noted, there's the green with the cut areas and the brown with the fill areas. The erosion sediment control report and plan has also been reviewed by the Civil Land Development Department, and it does comply with the town's guidelines. As you will note, the silt fencing is actually easier seen on the next slide, but this slide shows how the silt fencing is going to direct any runoff that can't be contained within the soils in place, how the runoff will be directed towards these stormwater catchment areas or storage areas, storage A, B, and C. And then this next slide shows these 2 other techniques that will be used within the site area called surface roughing or contour furrowing. It's a technique used to shape the soil in order to create more, basically, more wedges, so that the water has more of an opportunity to just infiltrate in place. And for this particular area in town, in the neighborhood of Heartland, the soils are particularly good for that type of stormwater management. So that's where they're going to use these techniques to try to get the water to settle in place. And then these black lines with the triangles, you'll notice throughout both the western and eastern portions are the silt fencing. There's obviously some around all of the boundaries as well, on both the western and eastern areas, but they're also throughout the area in order to direct those waters to those stormwater storage areas as shown before. So to summarize, the application does meet the land use bylaw regulations. It aligns with town planning policies as well as the civil and development guidelines, and the activities will be fully monitored. There will be $150,000 in securities, and as such, the conditions and advisory notes are listed in your report for administration to be recommending approval of DP 2021-170 for stockpiling and excavation on these subject lands. And with that, that completes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Tones. We have a question by Councillor Fideko.
Ms. Tomes, do you know how the big trucks are going to be entering into and out of that neighborhood particularly?
Because there are two different locations, not necessarily, no.
Okay, so I guess my helpful advice maybe to the commission is something to perhaps discuss amongst ourselves, is that I've received a number of complaints of just blowing past stop signs in that particular neighborhood, and especially when it comes to larger trucks, construction trucks, people not abiding by the speed limit. So if we are going to go ahead and approve this, I would really like to see whether or not we add in something about having this area patrolled by municipal enforcement, or perhaps maybe we can get some advice from administration on what that could possibly look like. But I've heard a number of complaints regarding Heartland right now as to how vehicles are moving in, moving out, and the carelessness that the companies are showing.
Thank you, Councillor Fideko. Councillor Flores has a question.
I was just wondering, if we turn this down, doesn't that mean that they have to haul it all away and haul it all back? Isn't there more traffic on the road?
I believe that would be a question for
I
Ms.
believe
Holmes or Mr.
Sorry, through the chair,
Corn.
could you repeat the question?
Yeah.
They have to do the work there. So if they can't stockpile it, doesn't that mean they have to haul it all away and then haul it back when they need it?
Through the chair, I'm not really sure why they would have to haul it away. I think they need the stockpiles in order to manage the amount of material on the site. And sometimes that means that they'll have stockpiles and then they'll use that material in order to complete the filling part of the application. So it's just about the timing. And there is, as part of the erosion and sediment control plan, we did ensure that it complied with the town's guidelines, that if the pile is going to be there for longer than 1 year, that it does need to be vegetated to control the dust.
That makes sense.
So-
Because we're doing the same thing across the road, aren't we, as far as stockpiling the dirt to make sure that we have it for road fill? The same idea?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, through the chair, just to add to that, to Ms. Tom's comments, if they cannot stockpile, it would be assumed that if they cannot hold it there, then they would have to put it somewhere else. So potentially, those stockpiles would have to be removed and then put back when they're ready to actually do the scraping. In regards to, just so to comment on Councillor Fideko's comment, I think what we can do is ensure that the peace officers are aware of the infractions that are happening If the citizens can either report them or we will make them aware of this instance, and then they will monitor the area appropriately. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Corman. Mr. Pathrath?
2 points. One, first, I'd like to concur with Councillor Federico. Been driving on that road, 1A to westward, and I would say there's about a truck a minute hauling from that particular site towards the west, and an incredible amount of trucks. And I must say that the speeding and the way that we're driving is an enforcement issue, and I agree with her recommendations that we should have perhaps more enforcement in this particular contractor who is hauling this out of there, and making sure that they abide by the laws of the land. My second question has to do with since this particular property borders CP Rail main line, was there anything extra that had to be done or has to be done because of the proximity to a main line of track going through a land that's being stripped or deep welled in that area?
Through the chair, to answer your question, no, there wasn't anything in addition to this. They've been very aware of the Heartland community as it develops, and we've been able to provide them with all of the requirements that they've asked for to date, and they haven't required anything for the excavation and stockpiling processes.
Okay, thank you.
Just to comment, I think that the timing of this is unfortunate. And I think the reason that the timing is unfortunate is the amount of trucks that we're putting on a road when we're already trying to create a new intersection. And so we've got many trucks because it's going on the 1A. Yes, there isn't another way that they can get there. And we already have traffic backed up a long ways. And it is right along where the 1A is going to be 4-laned. And so one of my first questions, I guess, or comments, the area structure plan, when it was approved, wasn't taking into consideration that the highway is going to be 4 lanes. And now that it is, I don't know whether or not the area structure plan should maybe be looked at and revised. I'm a little concerned about how close the residential development is going to be right along the new 1A development. And is this going to be problematic when we're building a very needed intersection at the intersection of the 1A and the Highway 22? So I'm just wondering how much of that was all taken into account when we think about approving this at this time.
Yeah, so to the chair, to answer your question, that was definitely known at the time of the area structure plan that the Highway 1A would be needing expansion. It needed expansion back then. And so at every kind of subdivision stage, the developer and the town and Alberta Transportation are in communication about the upgrades and what is needed and at what stage it's going to be provided at. That is also why, if you want, I can show my screen again, but it is in your report, the area structure plans. For the stage 2 area structure plan, it does show a 3rd intersection with the 1A, and that is due to the amount of residents that were expected to be in Heartland. And that connects across as well to the future Heritage Hills area structure plan that was also subsequently approved, I believe, after that. And so these developments did know that the 1A was going to be upgraded. In fact, they're counting on it.
Okay, thank you. I'm just trying to figure out what page that is in the report.
Oh, in the report.
So it's on page 8 of 13 or 48 of 64.
Yeah, page 8 of 13 or page 48 of 64. That's correct.
Okay. The other thing, in the past, we've had discussions about limiting times that the trucks can be on the road. So I'm just wondering whether or not there was a traffic study done with respect to at what times the road that those trucks can be on the 1A. And is there a possibility to consider that we don't have on 1A during peak traffic times?
Through the chair, no traffic study has been done to date because the trucks were going to be going directly onto a provincial highway and not going to be passing through a school zone or going to be going through the residential area between the two sections, like the western section and the eastern section. They were going to be pretty independent and as well independent from the residential and otherwise park spaces for that community. So no traffic study has been done to date for this application.
Okay.
To the chair, I just want to make clear that the stripping and grading is typically a very onerous process with a lot of heavy trucks. And as quickly as we can get it done, they're then off the roads, and then the development is typically within the area. So it's really important to understand that this is a very temporary thing. I do believe that, just for context, that the Heartland development actually took a lot of the fill from the Highway 22 and 1A intersection because we need to remove it in order to do that intersection. And I believe that they took a lot of it. And so they are trying to manage that to ensure that their lots are, developed properly and they have enough dirt to ensure that their homes are built safely. So this is a very important piece of their, later phases down the road, just to ensure that everybody has what they're trying to achieve there is a better area to develop better homes.
Right. And Mr. Corman, a lot of that, I'm just looking at timing. So even that timing, because they're going to try to do this as quickly as possible, will not impede the new intersection. They'll already have it done, would they not?
That's correct. I mean, we're going to see a lot of construction in that area, but we're trying to ensure that Heartland is finished what they're doing before any major intersection changes happen in that area. So timing is of the essence, or critical.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Corman. I believe Councillor Flowers has a comment.
I just wanted to add that I think it's up to the Alberta Transportation to manage the traffic through there. It is going to be a nightmare no matter what happens, but they're going to manage it and they're experts at it. So I don't think we need to be too concerned, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else have a question or comment? Councillor Federico, did you have another comment?
Yeah, I'm really not concerned about this tying up and becoming part of the interchange construction. I think it'll be probably well done by then. I think though that Mr. Corman, if you can please take note just about kind of some of the comments that I made about the construction trucks. I think that these are things that are already ongoing issues within that subdivision, and adding to that problem makes me slightly nervous. So if we can at least flag municipal enforcement from our end, I think that would be great. I can certainly go back out to the people who have voiced their concerns to me personally to also make sure that they let municipal enforcement know just some of their concerns. But I think there's two things to consider: definitely the speeding aspect, as well as paying attention to the actual stop signs within that neighborhood. The comments that I have heard, like many other new communities, is that if we're not careful, eventually somebody's going to pay the price, and we don't want that to be a child. So I'm not looking to stall the project or to make it not happen, but I think as long as we can flag it the best that we can from our end, I think that would be appreciated.
Through the chair to Councilor Federico, yeah, I have it written down that we're going to get Bob out there to take a look at it, and he's our development officer, so we'll make sure that is there. But I would concur with you to say that for anybody who has complained to you, please point them towards municipal enforcement, and that would really greatly help us gather that case, so we know how many people have complained. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Federico and Mr. Corman. Do we have any other questions or comments with respect to this development application? And if not, could we have does someone put a motion on the floor?
I'll put a motion forward that the CPC approve development permit 2021-170 for excavation and stockpiling on the lots as so mentioned.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pathrath. Any other questions or comments? If not, can we go to a vote? All in favor? And opposed? It is carried unanimously. And the final application for tonight, 2021-177, is for 2 backlit freestanding signs with variances. Ms. Tones?
Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Excellent, thank you. I'm figuring this out slowly. All right, so yes, thank you. And for our last presentation tonight, we have development permit 2021-177 for 2 backlit freestanding signs. So just a summary of the proposed development. Like I said, is for 2 backlit freestanding signs, one of which is essentially a renovation of the existing backlit freestanding sign on 5th Avenue West at the formerly known as the Canadian Tire site. The other is for a new proposed backlit freestanding sign, which matches the existing one. They just want a second sign for their property, and they've proposed it along Griffin Road, that portion of their street frontage. And they're gonna match them in every way possible. So the site, of course, is for 320 5th Avenue West. It is designated commercial shopping center district. There's existing retail stores, and the site is currently being renovated to accommodate multiple bays. Freestanding signs are a permitted use in this district. The backlit portion, backlit signs are a discretionary use. So that is why it's before Cochrane Planning Commission this evening, is because of that discretionary portion. In addition, it's also before CPC because of the variances that are required for the backlit sign regulation, and 2 variances for the freestanding sign portion of the regulation. So we start off the planning evaluation by looking at the Western Heritage Design Guidelines, which recommend that signage within the downtown expansion areas should be mounted directly on the front or the side of the building. Signage should also be front lit with simple or classic incandescent light sources with gooseneck lamps or industrial style lighting or other decorative wall mounted lamps. Backlit signs are generally discouraged in the area, and as such, the application does not conform to the municipal development plan. However, the land use bylaw was recently changed, kind of recently. The Western Heritage Design Guidelines were approved in 2001, and the land use bylaw was updated in 2016. Yeah, 2016 for the, or no, it was a later date. Anyway, updated with the backlit signage regulations that we have now. But as you will note, and is as shown as a blue star on the slide, this portion of the downtown expansion area is acknowledged as a regional shopping area, which I think does make it slightly distinct from the rest of the downtown area. So backlit signs are defined as any sign type that is illuminated from the rear of the sign face. Freestanding signs are defined as a sign that is supported independently of a building wall or structure and does not include a temporary sign. The proposed application was reviewed against the applicable backlit sign and freestanding sign regulations. During circulation, the stop sign on the eastern portion of the site triggered a clause from the traffic bylaw, which states that no sign shall be within 10 meters of a traffic control device, excuse me. And there is a stop sign right on the corner of the access here. So a condition was added to ensure the site plan was updated prior to the issuance. Prior to the issuance of a development permit. What you are seeing now on this slide is actually
a new site plan that has been sent in, and the applicants are proposing that the sign be moved to this red line right here, which is, and it's too small for you to see this clearly, but this red line here is showing that the distance is just over 16 meters away from the property line. And this, oh, excuse me, my cursor disappeared there for a second. And this kind of brown circle or tan circle shows a 10-meter buffer from the center of the stop sign post. So you can see that their new proposed location is more than 10 meters away from the stop sign, and this new site plan does fulfill that condition as is now. I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end, about how we can deal with that. But going back to the backlit sign regulations, each sign will be restricted to 6,000 lumens. However, each sign actually is only going to have modules in it that are set for 3,000, which leads into the next point here, is that because each sign will be equipped with modules that are set at 3,000 lumens at all times, this is the applicant's way of trying to meet this regulation, except for that the way that it was written, it says that lumens shall be reduced by half at nighttime, but essentially what they're trying to do is just reduce it by half all the time. So technically it's a variance to this regulation, but they are, in my opinion, still meeting the intent of the regulation. So that is why for this variance, I am recommending approval. Going on, the signs are directed east-west, both of them, one at the First Avenue West site and one at the Griffin Road site. It says an existing digital sign. I've been subsequently informed that that is a previous just backlit sign that just has not been used and has a black kind of vinyl surface in there to as a placeholder. So because it looks black, to me it looked like a former digital sign. It is not, but there is a changeable message area further down on the sign that will be removed. The Fifth Avenue West sign does face residential development, but the Griffin Road sign does not. It just faces the traffic on Griffin Road. Both signs are above eye level, and there's no risk of direct glare onto adjacent roadways. There's also a significant setback from the roadways as well as sidewalks and in addition to that. The next regulation is that no part of the light from a backlit sign shall be directed upwards. That is being met, and the sign shall not extend above the eave line of the building. The building in this case is a very large building, and that is met for sure. So just going back to the site plan, additionally, there are other conditions or other criteria that we use to ensure that backlit signs are placed in appropriate locations. The development authority, in this case, you, CPC, shall consider the amount of light produced on the site and the number of signs on the property and the building. The north building elevations have backlit signage proposed, which is on the side facing the parking lot, and gooseneck lighting signs on the south elevation along here, as per your direction from last meeting for the PetSmart application, I believe. There are existing light standards that illuminate the parking lot, which is in this portion of the site, and there's a light standard here and here as well to illuminate this area of parking. And then there's some building lighting that is just mounted directly to the building, which is normally acceptable. And generally, there are no unforeseen conflicts with these particular backlit signs from the backlit portion onto adjacent uses for that. So other than needing a technical variance to the dimmable hours regulation because they will already be, I guess, pre-dimmed. The application does meet the backlit regulations in the land use bylaw. The freestanding sign regulations, there are 2 other variances that are required. The first regulation is that a freestanding sign in the commercial shopping center district shall have a maximum height of 7 meters. The proposed sign height is 7.7 meters. The existing sign on 5th Avenue West is 7.7 meters. So they're just copying that exact same sign. But I need to just include this variance because it exists. The additional height is added by the Western Heritage Cornice feature of the original sign base approved and installed in 1999. So in order to reduce the height of the sign that is already existing, we would just be like chopping off a portion of the sign that actually, I think, adds aesthetic appeal. And then otherwise there would have to be some changes to the other sign. I didn't have any issues with that, and I'm proposing to Cochrane Planning Commission that that variance be approved as well. The next regulation is that signs shall have a maximum area of 9 meters squared. The proposed sign area is 7.59 meters squared, so that meets. All freestanding signs shall be at road or sidewalk grade. The other, so yes, this regulation is met. There shall be a maximum of 2 freestanding signs per lot on a multi-tenant development, and 1 per street frontage may be permitted. So the number of signs on this lot is already, I believe, at 6, or I think it's 7 actually. So the way that I've put it in here is because this application is for the reno of 1 sign, which is sign number 7, and then an additional sign, which is sign number 8. These other signs, other than these 2 pylon signs, meet the technical definition of freestanding signs. But as you saw in last month's presentation, the sign for the curbside pickup program also counts as a freestanding sign, and the menu boards for the drive-through also count as a freestanding sign. So these are the only 2 signs on the property that are of this style and meet the original intent of what I believe this regulation was intended for. But that means that this application requires a variance of 300% in order to allow the second sign to exist. If anyone has any questions about that, I'd be happy to go through that again. The next regulation is minimum separation distance shall not be less than 15 meters. The signs are approximately 200 meters from each other. Now that the second sign has been moved 16 meters ish, they might be slightly closer, but they're much more than 15. And in addition, the minimum setback to any portion of the sign shall be 0.75 meters from the property line. And the new location of the second sign is 0.75 meters from the property line. And the other sign is 4.5 and 5 meters from the property line. So both signs do meet this portion of the regulation. This is the proposed sign elevation of the existing sign. So as you can see here, this is that black space holder, essentially. This whole cabinet is getting an upgrade to this style of cabinet. And this changeable message section here is just being removed. The sign base itself is going to be becoming black, and that top Western Heritage cornice that I mentioned is staying the same. It's just getting a facelift. And so the other new sign is going to be exactly the same as the previous or the existing sign with the changes. And here are just the electrical details for the modules. So in addition, this isn't in your report. This is new information. So after the CPC agenda was posted online, I did receive a concern from an adjacent landowner about future sign clustering and potential driver distraction, as they were hoping to submit a sign application around this access on the east side as well. But after the proposed land use bylaw becomes adopted, they were looking forward to that in the future. They actually wanted a joint sign at this entrance for the site as a whole, and the proposed land use bylaw would allow for third-party signage. This landowner wanted to ensure that CPC knew that they opposed this application as it is. The applicants have made commitments. So the applicants of, excuse me, I'll use my cursor again. The applicants of this site, 320, have chosen to go ahead with the application and seek a decision from me this evening, as they have made commitments to their new tenants opening up in the spring and need to get the signage up. And just here is a kind of a closer up of this access. I've kind of tried to plot where this new sign application or this new sign location is going to be. In between these two trees here and 16 meters away from the property line and more than 10 meters away from the stop sign. And just to kind of show you the lay of the land about how these adjacent landowners kind of connect here at this access. So, but with that, administration has reviewed the application and determined that it does meet all of the requirements for backlit and freestanding signs, except for the 3 variances that were noted. And so thus, for the most part, meets the land use bylaw. The proposed application at the time of review, I felt would not unduly interfere with the amenities of the neighborhood, nor interfere with or affect the use, enjoyment, and value of the neighboring properties. And I think that adjacent landowner may argue otherwise, but as a result, administration is recommending that the application be approved with the requested variances. Comments from internal departments and external agencies were received, were received, and as a result, that additional condition was put into your report. However, since that new site plan has been received, I would also recommend to you that you could remove that condition and just say that you could probably just, I think the way that it's worded, you could remove that condition entirely and just rely on this new site plan that has been before you this evening and been received by administration. So other than the recommendation to remove that condition, administration is recommending option 1. And my apologies that this was a little bit confusing, but I'm available for any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Chelms. We have a couple questions and comments. Councillor Flowers.
I didn't have a question.
Did you have a comment? No?
No, was my name there?
It was. Okay.
Must have been from last time.
All right. Okay, Councillor Fideko, do you have a comment?
Nope, that was the same from the last one, so
Same
I'll
one
let
from the
everybody else
last
go
one.
first.
Okay. Heather, do you have questions?
I do.
Ms.
Okay,
Moore.
so just to clarify, the person or the business that opposed the sign opposed it because they want to be able to, in the future, put up their own sign. Is that correct?
They had drawn up plans and they were hoping for a joint sign, but because of the regulations, they can't have a joint sign right now. And potentially in the future, they can't have a joint sign because there's not going to be enough room on the sign for all of the tenants. So
I just wanted to clarify.
There might be
that
an
it's-
agreement potentially in the future, but for
Right.
now, the landowners are looking forward. My apologies.
That's okay.
The landowners are moving forward with trying to open up these new businesses in the spring and need to get
Yep.
the signage up. So
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that the opposition to the sign wasn't because of somebody's enjoyment or, interrupting somebody else's kind of freedom of space, My next question was, what's going to be on these signs?
Through the chair to answer that question, I think for the time being, the three main tenants are the ones that they've made commitments to being at the top of the sign there. So that would be Winners, PetSmart, and Rexall.
Okay, similar to what we would see going through any other, you know, entrance to a strip mall is what businesses you'll find around the corner, right? Okay. And my next question was just to clarify, the 3,000 lumens will be displayed all the time. So they're actually at half the lumens that we would normally allow during the daytime, correct?
Through the chair, that's correct. The way that the regulation is worded would technically mean that they would have to reduce it to 1,500 at nighttime because
Right.
they're already at 300 or 3,000.
Right.
But I understand where they're coming from, and they're trying to proactively just have them at the same lumens all the time.
Gotcha. Okay. Then just a comment, I would support option 1 to approve signage for the businesses.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Moore. And I am going to present the other side, the flip side with respect to that. We had a long conversation last time about not having backlit signs on major thoroughfares. And I know it is unfortunate with respect to the timing that the land use bylaw has not gone through, and that there'll be a significant discussion about not having any backlit signs on any major thoroughfare, because we are trying to keep and retain the, even though we are a size, but a kind of a smaller town city or small town feeling. And that if we start to let having backlit signs on every corner, that is going to be a deterrent with respect to us being able to maintain our look and feel of the downtown area. And that's a corner of the downtown. It's a significant corner, one where people come into town and it's the first thing they're going to see. So I personally am against any backlit sign on Fifth Avenue or on Griffin Road. The other thing is, because the sign is 7.7 meters and it's already standing there, it is oversized. And I don't believe that we should just say, well, that one's oversized, so therefore we should let the other one be oversized. So even if we were to let it go through, I don't think that we need to have one that is too big. And we allowed one, and I can't remember the street, it's behind Half Hitch, that is way too high. And it stands out like a sore thumb. So I think that we should be careful on the height. And I don't think that the height is a requirement. There was a third point with respect to that. I know that the developer has made commitment to the tenants, but the tenants will also have signs on their buildings. And so everyone will know where they are. And so having a sign at each corner is, I would like to see it held off until the land use bylaw and council has had a chance to review and to look and to consider what the heritage guidelines are going to be, and then bring it forward again. So that is my personal thoughts with respect to the signage. I think we're a little bit, what is that, cart before the horse, or horse before the cart, whatever that saying is. I think that it's something that we could delay until the land use bylaw is approved, my personal opinion. So, and then we have a comment from somebody. Ms. Fideko. They're not going away.
just a couple comments from a couple of things that you just mentioned. So the one sign that they're looking at, the one that's, you know, beyond the height restriction, it's already there. So I mean, it's either that, or we'd have to ask them to remove that sign and put up a sign that is
the other one
is 0.70, right? So I mean, I have no problem with that sign. I know that we did have that discussion about the major throughway kind of through town. I mean, the question I think though that becomes is that there's already backlit signage along Fifth Avenue, right? And so you have a number of businesses that already have signage up there that is backlit, right? I could name some of the businesses. I don't disagree with you that maybe that one on Griffin is maybe something, and that would be my point to Ms. Holmes, is could that one sign be something that is brought back after council has an opportunity to discuss the land use bylaw, particularly just that one sign. The other one I have no problem with. But that particular one, just so that we can understand what we want that corridor to kind of look like as a whole, kind of Miss Spencer's or Miss Spence's, sorry, point that she just made. I don't know if that's a possibility or not.
Okay.
So the way that it works, so through the chair, to answer your question, Councillor Federico, basically the whole application is before you this evening, so you can provide direction back to the applicant and delay the decision, or you can approve the application with the conditions listed in the report, or you can refuse the application and provide reasons. And if that would be the reason, then when a refusal happens, the only person allowed to appeal that decision is the applicant. And I'm not sure what they would do at that point, especially if kind of within your reason you would give them rationale. But I know that they were pretty amenable to working with me through the application process to get this before you this evening. So
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I have zero problem with the one sign. I can see where Ms. Spence is going with that one additional sign, is just that once we kind of open this up, I think, is that you're not going to be able to really control the next 20 applications that come forward, right? Because once one's up, kind of like what I said about Fifth Avenue, you already have backlit signage. I don't think we can say, hey, no backlit signage here, you're a major thoroughway. But when it comes to Griffin, I mean, you're right. How many and I do know that we have some backlit signage along there as well, right? Just are we setting up kind of a different precedence as we allow this application to go forward? But again, it kind of goes to say that we already have some there. Again, we're allowing some, not allowing others. I think that unfortunately, I think Ms. Spence, you're right. Like the timing is probably unfortunate, but I don't really see a big portion to hold this up, and we've already allowed other ones to exist. And I think that's sometimes the difficulty of the jobs that we're in, unfortunately. But I'll wait to hear what the rest of the commission obviously wants to say and their 2 cents.
Yeah, Mr. Pathrath, you have a comment?
Yes, I do. Last month, we did not approve a backlit sign on Griffin. And I think we have to be consistent with those type of decisions going forward. I do not agree that we should have backlit signs on both Fifth and on Griffin, mainly because it goes against what we've all been trying to do with this town, is to work with the Western Heritage design guidelines. And by allowing this, it's sort of inconsistent with what we've been decided in the recent past. And that, as I mentioned last month, I drove around at nighttime just to see how many backlit signs are there on Fifth and on Griffin. And I'd say 90% are with that gooseneck type of design, which gives the consistency throughout the town. Yes, if you look at River Avenue, there's perhaps more there on backlit signs that have been allowed to go in. But I think if we want to keep the type of town feeling that we want, especially on a major thoroughfare, and be consistent with our decisions from past applicants that have come forward, I think we should reject this particular sign as a backlit one. And if they come forward with a sign that is with a gooseneck, as some of the major businesses that are on Fifth have done, then they should have to reapply and go forward. I'm for refusing this particular application as it stands.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pathrath. And I believe Ms. Moore had a comment. Question?
I'll actually just wait to hear if anybody else has anything.
Okay, Councillor Flowers.
Yes, my comment was sort of similar. I'd like to see the present sign updated to help them out with their new businesses and get it going. but the other one postponed until the land use bylaw is through and we figure out what's going on. So we don't have a choice of approving half of it. We have, it's all or nothing. Is that what you're saying, Nicole?
Through the chair, yes. However, you do have that third option to provide direction and postpone your decision until a date specified by the Planning Commission.
I just wouldn't want to hold up their present sign if the new businesses are getting in there and they need it updated. I'd hate to see that held up, but I don't know what the solution is.
Yeah, and I hear you say there will be the signs still on the building though. They'll each have the signs on the building saying where they are, all three of them will. So having the sign at each corner, especially as, and you can maybe confirm, Mr. Corman, that the land use bylaw will be coming forward fairly quickly in the new year to the to council.
To the chair, yes, it will be coming for first reading, hopefully in the first meeting of January, but we have to, and I don't know for sure what the sign bylaws will be. Pylon signs, pylon signs have been around for a long time, and whether they are different or changed, I don't know. You have to take it on the merit of what is the bylaw now. So that's really important to understand. And this is a complete application. And so you either postpone your decision or you approve it or deny it. Unfortunately, we can't go back with, well, we want one or the other. I know that that is something slightly unfair, but that may have been a reason why they made the application the way they did. Because they do want to attract businesses or car traffic from Griffin going both ways. And that is a very important part of obviously marketing those businesses. Even though there are signs on the building, you're looking at traffic, guiding traffic towards your building and complex with pylon signs. That's the nature of why they're around.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Corman. Councillor Federico?
Mr. Corman, if we were to put a timeline on this, what kind of timeline would we be looking at? Like, obviously it's coming to us to council in the new year. And I realize that it's going to be a big project to be able to dig through even as council. I mean, is it fair to say that we could postpone this till, you know, maybe March 1st? I mean, I don't feel comfortable in denying the whole entire thing. I do agree with Councillor Flowers, like if I could approve part of it, I would, to allow it to kind of get started. But if that's not necessarily the case, and if we have to make a yes or no kind of decision, then I'd like to know at least a timeline that's the shortest amount possible that we could kind of get these guys going. I realize that it's a bit of an inconvenience for them as well, right? And I certainly understand all the points made. I wasn't at the last couple meetings, so I don't know what decisions were turned down, unfortunately, when it came to signage and what that conversation was. But I would like to at least be able to see this postponed. I just don't want to see it become like a 6-month ordeal, right?
Through the chair to Councilor Federico, we would, and maybe Nicole can chime in on this, if you postpone your decision with comments, then as quickly as they could make another application or change their application, they would bring it back to CVC for approval. That could be, you know, as quickly as January, but it would still be based off of the current bylaw, obviously, and Western Heritage Design.
Yeah, so I don't really see them making a change that's probably going to comply with maybe what we're looking for. I think it's more about what that land use bylaw is going to look forward for when it comes to kind of that corridor planning that we've already discussed, right? So I mean, oh boy, that's a tough, we're in a tough place here, because either we deny the whole entire thing or we ask them to come back with maybe at least one sign, which I think that they would get immediate, or they'd at least probably get approval for. But as far as that other one, I don't think it's necessary that we're looking for changes from them. It's more about what we're looking for as an overall probably council and commission update.
So before you respond, Mr. Corman, Mr. Pathrath has a comment.
Yeah, I think I'd like to make it clear that I have no objection that there be signs there to market or steer traffic into this mall for businesses. And but what I do object to is that we have like 90 to 95% of that area with these gooseneck lighting to the signs. And why can't these signs be gooseneck lighting instead of backlit? What is the advantage of the backlit is I guess what I'm questioning here. Why don't we standardize, which we've been trying to do, and CPC has done a great job for the past few years to steer major businesses to have those type of lighting, and we should be consistent with it. It's as simple as that. And if it has to do with cost or of bringing electricity for the gooseneck lighting, I don't know what it is, but no one has given me a good indication of why backlit instead of the goose lighting that almost every other business in that area has.
Through the chair, gooseneck lighting is a permitted use, I would assume, Nicole, based on the sign bylaw, and that could be approved by the development officer. They're coming to you to say, we want a backlit sign, and that is the discretion of the CPC. So if you are not wanting a backlit sign here, then you have to deny that application. And that's the only thing that you have within your purview to do. Denying the application may set them off on another course that says, well, let's get approval for what we want in an area like the one sign to make changes to it, or they may come back with okay, here are our backlit sign, or here are our signs. Come back to the development officer with here are our signs with gooseneck lighting. We just don't know. So I'm trying to make sure that you are making the correct decision for the authority in which you have, and that is that's where we have to we got to play in that box.
Well, I think the authority we have is what the citizens of Cochrane have asked for through their input of the Western Heritage Design Guidelines. And therefore, I would like to put forth a motion that the CPC refuses the applications for the two backlit freestanding signs on the grounds that they contravene the Western Heritage Design Guidelines, discouraging backlit sign, especially on major thoroughfares.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. I believe Ms. Locke has a comment.
Yeah, this is more of a question actually. At the quarry, there's a freestanding sign that faces Griffin. Is that backlit? I'm trying to rack my brain to remember last time I drove down there at night. I believe that one is backlit.
Yes, they are.
So that faces Griffin. That's already there. I'm just wondering why you're saying that there's nothing facing Griffin that's backlit when there clearly is already a precedent.
I think it comes down to, and Mr. Corman's exactly right, we have to kind of deal with what is today. However, the fact that we're dealing with land use bylaw that's very outdated from 2004, and we have new land use bylaw ready to be presented. And so we're in a place of, do we support a decision that's not going to be approved and contributes our approval in the next 3 months? Or do we stand up for what's very clearly by the citizens that we really want to stand behind the heritage guidelines and make Cochrane unique? So we're kind of in a place. So we can refuse it, and the developer can take it to the SDAB if they so approve or so thought, or bring forward another application. Correct?
To the chair, yes, we really have to discourage any approvals or non-approvals, for lack of a better word at the moment, with a new bylaw coming into play. That is not the factor here tonight. Tonight it is the bylaw says that you are you are looking at the land use bylaw and the discretionary use of it as it stands today. You can't take the new bylaw into perspective.
Right.
Or the Western Heritage framework, because it is completely changing. So you have to look at the laws that are put in today, and please disregard the new land use bylaw at the moment.
Yeah. So the variance that we're looking at today is the height of the sign, 3,000 or 300 increase variance on because there's a second sign, and there was a third one, Ms. Bones.
The third one is just a variance to that regulation that says they have to dim when they are kind of pre-dimming their lumens. That was the third variance. But if you're refusing on the grounds of it being backlit at all, that's different from just not agreeing with the variance, I believe.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. And looking for your clarification, Mr. Corman, then, that we refuse the application for 2 backlit signs. And the reason being is because we do not support backlit signs.
Whatever the options are, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't
It's
have the options in front of me at the moment, but I mean, if you're, you have to base it on what you're allowed to. So, Nicole, do you have an option? Do you have the options there?
So I believe that Cochrane Planning Commission had assigned a secretary to record their motions in writing.
Yes.
And I'm not sure then who to, I'm throwing it back to you to coordinate that.
Yes, so we would have to, in writing, write it down, and because we have to provide reasons. Okay, but before I think we move forward, I've not heard anything from Mr. Parsons. Do you have any comments? Does that mean no?
No, I was trying to find mute there. I'm in agreement with the non-backlit signs. I think we should stay with the Western Heritage guidelines on that.
Okay. And Councillor Flowers.
Yeah, one of the reasons is there is no signs on Griffin and we don't want to change that. Wasn't that part of it? Like there's one facing Griffin, but there's none right on Griffin. Is that true?
Through the chair, approval for backlit signs, freestanding pylon signs have been done in the past on Griffin. There is one on, I believe there's one in the quarry, and there may or may not be one by the new A&W down by River. So it is not necessarily the case that we don't allow them. I believe that if you want to say no to this application based on it being a backlit sign, then that is going to be your reasoning.
I guess for me, it's more that it's bigger than it's supposed to be, and there's somebody that's opposing it in there. There are a couple of the reasons.
Definitely, you can disallow this permit because of it being big, because that is one of the variances, Nicole, that is for your approval. So if you are basing it off of how big it is and how it is backlit, because that is part of your discretion, then that could be your reasoning for a disallowance.
So, and we have a 300%. So there's the third part, right? So we have the sign, the proposed size of the second sign.
Ms. Spence, can I make a comment?
Yes.
I think after listening to Mr. Corman, some of the things that he made makes it a little bit clearer. First of all, the sign is not any bigger. The sign is already the same size as what is already there.
No,
So
it's the second one though, that's too big.
The second one it's the one that is getting redone is already the same size. Am I not clear on that one? And also we have passed at least two, and Mr. Corman was right, businesses already on Griffin that have backlit signage. We also have passed businesses on Fifth with a fast food establishment that has backlit signage. If we are only looking at it from this point of view of what's in front of us, which is kind of where it's too bad that we couldn't push it out to when the new land use bylaw comes in. But if we're looking at it from today's perspective, we have already approved businesses along there. To now say that, hey, you don't meet our guidelines, is going to definitely lead this business to go to SDAB. They will get approval because there's no precedents already set. So I think we have to be very careful of what we're looking at. It's unfortunate, maybe it's a timing issue, but there are businesses, we can't say that there's none because they've already been approved. I can name quite a few actually. So I think we just have to be very careful of what we're bringing forward, because else we're going to definitely lead them down that path anyways. They're going to appeal it and they're going to win.
Okay. Thank you. So Ms. Thomas, what is option 3 again? I do not have it because I was typing.
Option 3 is to, through the chair to you, Chairperson Spence. The option 3 is to postpone the decision and provide direction back to the applicant. So if, depending on what that direction looks like through your discussion and whatever you end up recording, it could be the providing direction that we would only like to see the one sign, the existing sign be renovated, for lack of a better word, and to just remove the second sign for now, or further to some other comments that I heard about just removing the backlit, like throwing it back to the applicant and be like, hey, would you be willing to remove the backlit portion? Regardless, the applicant can hear your direction and they can either make changes or not make changes and come back to the commission for a second consideration. So whatever direction you provide to them, they will have an opportunity to review that and see if they want to make those changes in hopes of getting approval at the second go round or not. But it does give them a little bit of an opportunity to change the application in accordance with the direction that you decide to provide, potentially avoiding going through the appeal process, which can also be lengthy, but also not necessarily, right? So potentially they decide to review your direction, they don't change it less. Then these are all just potentials that you don't have control over once you either decide to give direction or decide to make a decision. Yeah.
Well, I mean, my personal comment is times change, and yes, things were approved in the past. That doesn't necessarily mean that we need to continue approving now. So things I've written down, so I want everybody to hear. So I wrote down CPC does not support, CPC refuses this application for the second sign, i.e. the 300% variance. So that would be 1. And secondly, would the applicant consider bringing the development application back without backlit signage? And is there any other reason, rationale that we would add to give direction to the development applicant or to the applicant?
Or just as a matter of process, I think George already has a motion on the floor. So I think we have to vote on that motion first.
Yes, and your motion was option
2.
Option 2.
which reads,
Well, CPC refuses the application for the 2 backlit freestanding signs. And the reasons are on the grounds that they contravene the Western Heritage design guidelines discouraging backlit signs, especially on major thoroughfares.
okay, so we have to So we'd have to vote on that. And then if that one fails, we'll come back with a different motion. Thank you, Ms. Moore. Thank you. So what I heard was option, sorry, 2, for the reason that backlit signs contravenes the, what was your wording, George?
But they contravene the Western Heritage Design Guidelines discouraging backlit signs, especially on major thoroughfares.
Okay, so we would have to vote on that. So all in favor? And then opposed. So we have Mr. Parsons, how did you vote?
I voted for.
4, okay. So it's carried with a 3-4 split. Okay, I will write something and get that and provide that to Nicole and to Lisa. Okay. And so that's the last development application for tonight. The next meeting will be Wednesday, January 19th, 2022, in a new year at 6:30, and I believe we'll still be Zooming at that point. So thank you all. I have really appreciated working with all of you. I know that some of these things are challenging at best, but I wish you all the best of luck in the future.
We appreciate you, Deb. We really do, and all your guidance and experience.
Yeah, Deb, you've been here for longer than I have, and that's been a long time that I've been on CPC now. So thank you for your guidance. Thank you for all your hard work chairing and always asking the difficult questions that you do and making sure that we're all thinking, in bigger terms when it comes to our planning. So thank you so much for everything that you do, and a Merry Christmas to all of you,
Yes.
administration, all our volunteers that sit on this board. So thank you all for being a voice on the Cochrane Planning Commission.
Happy holidays.
Merry
Thank you.
Christmas.
We can all sing now. Happy holidays. Or we'll just leave. Thank you.